excited today because we've got the head of UFA and UFOA, Steve Cassidy and Al Hagen. We have the head of the Feel Good Foundation, John Field. What that demonstrates is this campaign that began 2 weeks ago is growing. It's not just the 9/11 families alone. We now have two major firefighter officers associations, and of course the unique Feel Good Foundation. They will all be speaking as well as some of the family members. Let me make it very clear. What this campaign is about is to have the mayor of the city of New York, Bill de Blasio, sit down and meet with a representative group of people who are standing behind me. We believe that common decency requires the government, the city of New York, engage in a consultative process with the 9/11 family members whose loved ones died on September 11, 2001. We have been unsuccessful in achieving that goal. So today, once again, we call upon Mayor Bill de Blasio to sit down and meet with us so that A, we can inform you of the history of this issue, and two, inform you that some of the statements that you and your administration have made are just not accurate. The idea that there's been a consultative process with museum officials, not true. The idea that there will be DNA testing at the museum for the human remains, not true. And so you need to get the facts, you need to listen to us, and finally, we need a survey. The principle is very elemental. It is, for example, if there are identified remains, courts federally and locally say that the government needs to consult with the families to find out what should be done about the human remains. The sui generis situation here is that the remains, almost 8,000, are unidentified. And because they're unidentified, the courts have not addressed that issue. As a result, there's a void. And the city of New York, first with the Bloomberg administration and now with de Blasio, have filled that void by saying that they will determine what happens to the remains. The families that are here today and many others say no. We did an unscientific poll. We got about 300 families to respond. 94.6% said no. Do not put the remains in the museum 70 feet below. Put it above ground in the Memorial Plaza in a tomb akin to the Tomb of the Unknown in Arlington. You will hear the speakers today. You will hear their anguish. You will hear their anger. But you also will hear their belief in their government and in this constitutional system. And therefore, once again today, we call upon the Bloomberg and de Blasio people to sit down and talk. This campaign will continue. The fact that they open the museum, these issues will not disappear. And next Thursday night, we will have another event. We'll let you know in the days to come. So let me begin by introducing Jim Riches, who lost his son on 9/11. Jimmy.
Thank you very much. I'm Deputy Chief Jim Riches, New York City Fire Department retired, father of firefighter Jimmy Riches, Engine 4, who was murdered on 9/11. I spent 9 months down there with a lot of these union representatives here, picking up pieces of body parts, 21,000 pieces in total. 8,000 which are unidentified to this day, and 1,000 families have never recovered anything, not even a fingernail. This is a cemetery to them down there, it's sacred ground. In 2002, we were promised that the museum will be brought back, the museum would bring the remains of unidentified back to the site, our precious loved ones. We wanted that where they breathed their last breath and where they were, where they died. But they said separate and distinct from any museum or any visitor center. We did not make this up. We met with them again in 2009, Joe Daniels and Alice Greenwald with museum experts. They told them they have to get the families' input into this and find out what the majority wanted, whether they wanted in the museum or not in the museum. We call our Mayor de Blasio right now, because what's going on down there right now is a commercial venture. It's a revenue-generating tourist attraction, and the human remains are still in there. We call upon Mayor de Blasio to take the human remains of our loved ones, unidentified 8,000 of them, out of the basement of the museum and bring them above ground to repositories akin to the tomb of the unknown with an eternal light to restore some respect and dignity down there. They think they did nothing wrong by having a party, by just doing whatever they want without consulting the families. They're wrong. That's what we're dealing with Mayor Bloomberg and his cohorts over there. We want Mayor de Blasio to sit down with us, bring them to the table too. We'll come, we'll talk with anyone. We want it to be known. We'll go by the majority of what the family members want. Either in the basement of a money-charging museum which flooded with 50 feet of water during Hurricane Sandy, or above ground in a repository similar to the Tomb of the Unknown, open 24 hours a day, where my friends can go there and don't have to pay $24 to pay their respects. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. As I said in the opening, we're very excited today because we have the two firefighter unions here. It gives me great honor to introduce the head of the United Firefighters Association, Steve Cassidy.
The families who stand behind me are 100% correct when they say the unidentified remains should not be in the basement of the museum. It's a disgrace. The bottom line is very simple. People shouldn't have to pay $24 to go and say a silent prayer of the remains, in front of the remains, because they have never gotten anything back from one of their loved ones who died on 9/11. It's simple. It's unacceptable. The remains have to be brought out of the basement, brought to the light of day, just like at Arlington. Let's have a proper memorial above ground so that anyone who wants to, at any point and any time, can come say a prayer for the 9/11 remains, for the people who died that day, were murdered on 9/11, and for the families who never got a piece of their loved ones back. It's simple. The new mayor needs to make this change. He's not responsible for a lot of the things that have already been done, but this change needs to be done. The families need to be consulted, and it should be done right now. Thank you.
Equally excited because we have the head of the United Firefighters Officers Association, someone who's known to speak out about what's right. It's the honor to introduce Al Hagan.
Thank you. The people that are behind me, the families of those who were lost on 9/11, many of them who were never identified, want to be consulted about where the remains of their loved ones are. It's not a big lift. It's not an unusual request. And we call on Mayor de Blasio today to bring some dignity and decency to this sad situation. I believe personally that Mayor de Blasio is a very decent man and he will address this. But what they've done by putting the remains in the basement of a for-profit museum is like putting a turnstile on a cemetery. It's absurd. It smacks of indignified behavior, and we need it to be changed, and we need it to be changed as soon as possible. Thank you.